Right. I thought I'd quickly start today just by going over our vision and mission and our evolving role because it is a little bit changing at the moment. So, our vision remains to be world renowned for thriving, sustainable visitor experience that celebrate our nature and culture. And that nature and cultural elements is really important. It's a dual aspect there. Our mission as a board and a team is to use our expertise to influence, advocate, and help visitor economy participants shape sustainable, world class destinations. And when it comes to our role, that's the part that's evolving a little bit at the moment. We've just come to the end of our second funding cycle. We're still relatively young organisations as destination networks. You've only been in operation for about 8 years. So it's a logical time to assess where we're at. And as Karen alluded to, with the revised strategy, you need to have a look at your working processes and what works well. Moving forward, we will align and contribute more directly to the statewide visit economy strategy. In the past, we've created dedicated North Coast destination management plans. Moving forward, what we will create is a visitor economy strategy action plan for the North Coast. And what this will do, it'll create better vertical alignment from local through regional and onto state. And I think it's really going to unleash and untap a variety of resources and support that will really be felt on the ground level as well. So we're really positive about that change that's coming. Karen talked about our results at a macro level there. Um, so have I skipped one there? No, that's good. At a macro level there. I thought I'd just give a bit more context about the different visitors and where the value sits, because it's really important across all levels of our industry to understand where the value sits in our visitor economy. So domestic overnight accounts for just under half of our visitors, but it generates 79% of the spend. We average about 3.5 nights stay, and they spend just over $200 a night. It's about $206 a night. So vitally important, and most important aspect of what we do. Day trip visitation is just under half the visitation as well, but it's 20% of the spend. Obviously, here for one day, the average spend has increased quite heavily over recent years to $164. So really valuable and particularly valuable to excursions, attractions, events. But the more of these day trip visitors we can convert to overnight visitors, the better we all are off. International, only 2% of visitors, but it accounts for 16% of nights. Our average international visitor spends 15 nights in our region. We have a high proportion of backpackers. They only spend $80 a day, but they contribute in many and varied ways. They add to our workforce. I think they add to the colour and the flavour of the destinations. And nobody visits national parks or other attractions, cultural facilities on a Tuesday in June like backpackers and international visitors as well. So that it all adds to a lovely matrix of visitors that we have. With our international markets, we are still rather historical. Traditionally, in the past, 2/3 of the visitors to Australia were Western, 1/3 Eastern. But where we're moving to is the opposite of that. Moving forward, we'll have 1/3 Western, 2/3 Eastern. Our top 5 markets at the moment are the UK, New Zealand, US, Canada, and Germany. 5 Western markets that account for 2/3 of visitation. Our largest Eastern market at the moment is Japan at 2%. So a little bit of a problem, but also an enormous opportunity there for us to untap into new and evolving markets. But we need to make sure we're ready to do that. In terms of sector performance, things aren't always equal. And what I think the data up here alludes to is that real cost of living kind of period. Everyone's, when I worked in the UK for a long time, it was really become apparent to me in that place because getting away and getting a bit of sunshine is so important. But it translates back to here. People will still go on holidays. But what does that holiday look like? And usually it looks similar, but a little bit less. What has remained robust? Eating out. It's a vital component. Every destination says they've got a great culinary kind of landscape. Not everyone, that's not always true, but everyone claims it because it's so vitally important. It's how families and a lot of us connect, and it's a lot of the strongest memories people have are these culinary or drinking and other experiences out there as well. Online accommodation, is now 72% of the market. There's a progressive spread every year, more people booking online, and I find it always accelerates when there is a cost of living kind of element to things, because there is a perceived value when you go to the big OTAs. There's that perceived value that they can get the best deals for you. Always recommend to everybody, use them as a supermarket, but then try and go to the operator direct. Better for everybody, and you may get better value as well. Breweries and wineries, uh, the average spend on the North Coast is up by 3.4% last year, unfortunately below the inflation rate at 4%, which shows a lot of the challenges that our operators face. You can pat yourself on the back saying this is good, but it's not really. We're still struggling. But for the fact for wineries and breweries in the North Coast to be above CPI, they are struggling massively across the state, particularly wineries and a lot of breweries, because the brewery space, I think we've got to that point now that we've got that critical mass of operators where it's becoming a really competitive space. So the North Coast is outperforming the rest of the state in this sector as well. The areas that are struggling, and I hate saying this because it's always the way, whenever there's that cost of living impact, it's always the attractions and experiences that are most vulnerable. It is seen as that most discretional part of a holiday, and unfortunately, they do tend to suffer a little bit more. And discretional retail spending, which shouldn't be any kind of surprise, I guess. Key demographics, the North Coast has immense appeal to, I think, nearly all groups, different areas like uh, youth, youth groups, all kind of groups. We've got universal appeal, but who we do particularly appeal to is families. 45% of our visitors are families. The national average is 37%. And we appeal to families at all stages of that family growth as well. We also appeal really strongly to affluent travellers. 53% of the visitors to the North Coast are from there's 5 affluent brands that we measure against. The 2 top brands accounts for 53% of the visitors to the North Coast. The national average is 35%. It shows what an aspirational destination we are and that people value the experiences that we offer as well. And number one demographic is travellers over 65, which isn't a great surprise. We've always been a really popular destination for that, accounting for 21% of visitors. We're still below the national average though, the national average is 23% for that demographic. And it shows the size of the market, but also the need to ensure that we've got our accessibility issues under control and that we are providing great access for all. Karen covered the VS quite extensively, so I won't go into it too much, but what I will just allude to is a little bit of a regional context there. In regional areas, we've always struggled to fill the job. So the thought of getting 150,000 on top of the workforce, there's 29,000 people work in our sector on the North Coast. What we've got to do better as an industry, and everyone in the room can contribute to that, is making people understand that these series of jobs in tourism is not a series of jobs, but it's a career. It's a career pathway, and it's a vital part of local communities. So we've got to really embrace that. The new aviation seats, whilst the targets are based on international and interstate, the key gateways that are going to drive that, Western Sydney Airport, John alluded to it, it's going to untap a lot of potential for shorter duration visits to the North Coast. Other gateways like Newcastle Airport bringing international visitors in will feed the southern part of our region, and there'll be increased support for the Gold Coast Airport as well. 3 million people fly into Gold Coast Airport every year. 1 million of those 3 turn right and end up in northern New South Wales. So it's really important we get that as well. Of the 40,000 hotel rooms to be developed, 10,000 have been targeted for the North Coast, for regional New South Wales, but we'll take all of them. But I know what we are targeting for the North Coast is rooms that really accommodate that high value traveller, because that's what we need to be better at. Well, as I alluded to with our international market, we're the 9th most visited region in Australia for international visitation, but we've got one of the lowest average values because of our dependence on backpackers. If we can get more branded and high quality accommodation in here, we can get those guys when they return with their friends and families, whatever, and get the more high value travellers coming through as well. A major investment in events and business events. I'll talk a little bit about more that later, but it's a key part of what we want to do as well. So all these aspects, and then the experience development side, they all tie really neatly into what the North Coast offers and where we're trying to get to. Making it easier for people to visit. So I'm moving into the different pillars of the visitor economy strategy and what we'll be focusing on. Access is everything. If it's hard to get to, then, you're really up against it. We have the benefit of having 3 key airports within the region and 2 gateway airports just outside the region as well. So we're always trying to help our airport partners develop new routes, provision of data, and other things like advocating for support. Well, like with Lord Howe Island this year, they're trying to get more structured government support. We really help them in their efforts, and we try to help all our destinations there as well. We're starting to work more with a wider array of agencies like Transport for New South Wales, who will be presenting later today. We need to get better at that integrated transport model. How can we better disperse travellers throughout the region? Uh, Mayor Enjoy talked about the challenges of regional public transport. It's always been there. I think in a couple of areas, we're on the cusp of creating, like the Tweed's a great example with the Northern Rivers Rail Trail, the Gidron-Gulgani multi-day walk and a few other things, where we can start creating some embryonic kind of public services, transport services for our visitors, which can then help community as well. Accommodation, like I mentioned, we need to keep meeting evolving standards. When I worked at Thomas Cook in the UK, the managing director, when we launched our summer season, he talked about this and the importance of it. And one thing he always stuck with me, he said, nobody wants to go away and stay somewhere worse than where they live. You don't, do you? It's meant to be an experience. It's meant to be a positive thing. And we've all had that moment, either positive or negative, whether you've walked in the reception or you've walked into your room and it's an aha or an oh no moment. And we've got to keep evolving those standards. So it's vitally important if we're an aspirational destination attracting high yield visitors. This is a key component for us. The workforce, as I mentioned, it's highly important. So we're continually meeting with different government agencies, and moving forward, we'll be delivering some capability training sessions as well. Focusing on attracting your visitors, well, obviously vitally important here. And what's really important for Destination North Coast is for us to really intrinsically understand what are the key attributes and experiences of all your destinations. We've got 14 different local government areas in there. There's a multitude of destinations within those. And we really need to understand and engage with you guys consistently to understand where that's moving as well. Karen referenced ATDW and it's referenced at every conference, and it still baffles me. If I was to start a tourism business tomorrow, I've owned one before and I didn't do this and I regret it. If I was to start one tomorrow, one of the first things I would do would be create an ATDW listing. It costs about $400 to get an ATDW listing, but if you're in New South Wales, the state government pays for you to do that. They only do that if it's important. If they, look, I gotta stop doing that. What is this thing? If there's one platform not to be underrepresented on, it's ATDW. It feeds Tourism Australia. It feeds Visit New South Wales. It feeds a multitude of platforms. If you want to appear in their marketing, in their PR, and any of the other aspects, you need to be on there. If you want to penetrate international markets, you need to be on there. And you need to be maximising the platform as well. So we will continue to bang on about this one. So just do it. Just do it, people. The other one is the creation of hero experiences. It's so vitally important for destinations. And I think a little bit of context here too. When people hear visit hero experience, I think they always jump straight to the hero experience is the biggest thing in town. It's not. It's that experience that really, we're in the memories and the emotions and those moments business. That's what we do. It's those experiences that really capture a destination's essence or some aspect of it, or an experience that, you may only do 500 passengers a year, but they're high yielding and they're important, and they leave a legacy, they leave a memory, and they help define that organisation, that destination. That's what it's all about. And the other thing is the power of content as well. I was trawling through Destination New South Wales content library, which is amazing, by the way, and trying to find a picture for this. I don't like horses. They freak me out. I don't like anything that weighs about 5 times more than me and then can run faster than I can. So I've got very little desire to ride a horse. But when I saw this picture, I've had an overwhelming desire to jump off the back of a horse into some running water ever since. That is the power of content, and that is a hero experience. It taps the emotion, it taps the imagination, and you think that's a memory. Driving growth through events. Well, events, they're such an intrinsic and important part of what we do. And what we'll keep challenging our destinations and operators, and what we'll keep seeking is events that reflect the character and culture of those destinations. And there's a key reason for this. The more that you reflect the character and culture of the destination, the more people understand it. The less you need to spend on marketing, the greater your chances of sustainability are. So it's vitally important that we find those ones there as well. Moving forward, we'll have a more proactive role in the evaluation of the regional event fund applications as well. And what we'll look to do as well, like we did last time, when these funds are launched, we'll run webinars helping applicants to develop the best applications they can. And we're here, Ash and I are here all the time, and Belinda and Heath, because those guys know events back with front, to provide any kind of guidance we can as well. Over the next year, we'll be also delivering an event training program through the Australian Centre for Regional Events. We'll be doing that in conjunction with 6 of the other destination networks across the state. Uh, this one will be a little bit different to the one we did before. It'll be run online, so we will have no cap on the amount of participants, which is fantastic. We'd love to get as many North Coast events in as possible. That enables the event participants to do it at their own time frame as well. What we found last time, you've got to pick a time of the year for a couple of events that ran into their planning or their delivery periods as well. Operators will come out of it with a series of micro credentials all around running events, financial management, marketing, all very good stuff. What I really like it though, it's about creating a consistent, effective model that can be replicated. If anyone who's dealt with a variety of event operators, it's always the same problems, isn't it? We've all got the same problems around volunteers, costs, revenue generation. So the more we get a robust model in place and people adhere to it, the better we'll be. And we'll also create a cohort of event planners. And this is what we had in the first time we did this, where they lent on each other and created a little network where they can engage and share intel and share resources as well. Business events is a very strong part of what we do as well. The North Coast is one of the leading regional conferencing destinations in Australia. We've always valued it highly, and that's why we created the national award-winning, almost a little bit competitive, Karen, Destination North Coast business events program that Belinda and Heath at the back of the room are the front for. The program really kicks a lot of goals with limited resources. The market was extremely challenging last year. We saw smaller events, more competition, more subvention funding from other states and destinations as well. But the team, delivered 21 events this year that are going to generate over 11,000 nights and $4.5 million in value for the region. And all three of those aspects are up year on year. So that's an incredible achievement. We've also got 100 leads in the pipeline that have the potential to generate $22 million in visitor spend. And what we've increasingly been trying to do, we've got to be true to the cause as well. So we've been trying to find conferences and tender for conferences that reflect the character, culture, and key industries of our regions as well. So we're currently chasing the Australian Society of Travel Writers, the National Surfing Conference as well. We go after quite a lot of medical conferences. Like the Mid-North Coast does very well in that. Northern River's a little bit better in alternate medicine, and a lot of agricultural conferences as well. But it's all really important about what we do. And the other part is we will continue, you can see, still get aspect with the screen. We'll continue to advocate for a North Coast Convention and Exhibition Centre. We did a feasibility study a few years on this, and there is a genuine gap in the infrastructure between Newcastle and the Gold Coast. We're very good at capacities up to 500 people, but if we want to go bigger and we want to go national, we need something that can accommodate 1,000 to 1,200 people. What the analysis showed us, though, if we created that facility, it would fill that gap in the market. It would generate around $300 million and support 300 jobs over the first 10 years of operation. Now, the key destinations that were identified as potential hosts are Ballina, Coffs Harbour and Port Macquarie, and the opportunity remains of interest for all three. Coffs Harbour is probably the most advanced in where they're at the moment, looking to do detailed site analysis across their region. And this is a really exciting development where we're going, and we'll continue to advocate for this opportunity. Focus on experiences. I've lost my notes. Where are we? So when we talk about developing experiences, the key focus will be against key experience categories. So they are nature, culinary, agritourism, Aboriginal and cultural tourism, wellness and journeys. And that's across the state level, but it reflects really well with our opportunities here as well. There'll also be a real strong emphasis on multi-day opportunities. And as a region, I think we're in a generational opportunity here. You look at the investment and what we've got on the cusp. In the Mid-North Coast, we've got $140 million going to create the Great Koala National Park, $5 million to help business activation. We had $56 million invested through national parks to reinvigorate the rainforest arc at Dorrigo and to create a 4-day, 3-night walk. In the Northern Rivers, we've got 2 parts of what will eventually become the best rail trail in Australia, and it's already the leading one that everybody is looking at. The Gidgum-Gulgani 4-day, 3-night walk that originally was called the Tweed to Byron Hinterland Trail as a working title has exceeded expectations and is one of the leading walks in New South Wales now through national parks. These are the great kind of catalysts for creating multi-day opportunities and provide a lot of content and opportunities. And I think we've got to untap and unleash a lot of these, whether utilized as a marketing tool or as a great way to connect different key experiences as well. ATE will be a strong emphasis of what we're trying to do as well. This is another area that we are underrepresented at. What we'd love to see more. I was a buyer and a product manager for the bulk of my career for large travel organisations. I used to go to World Travel Market, ATEs, whatever it was. And it's great when you go to one of these things and you meet someone from a destination and they really excite you about a destination. But if they're not backed by a bunch of saleable products, it's just an idea. Conversely, you get one or two operators who turn up and they sell a great experience or accommodation. It's not enough as a buyer. You need that holistic package. So the more destinations we can have turning up with destination and commercial product, the better we'll be placed to really compete in that space there as well. I'd also love to drag a few of our tweed operators back into the New South Wales landscape. I understand why they present under Gold Coast and Queensland, but if we could get that critical mass of tweed guys back over the border, I think we'd be doing that destination and brand more justification as well, and become more sustainable. And on that word sustainable, that is still a key emphasis of what we focus on as well. We are the nation leader as a region in terms of eco-certification. There's 15 eco-certified destinations in Australia, 4 of them on the North Coast. We've got 2 more destinations looking at it. And it's no coincidence. You know, we've been a thought leader and an advocate for this kind of change for years as a region. And because it's who we are, it's what we reflect, and it's key aspects here. We've got our number one driver of visitation is nature-based visitation by a long way. So that is the golden goose. We need to protect it, we need to celebrate it, and we need to implement the best methods possible. Data and insights is really important, and no one's ever satisfied with the data and insights I've found over the years that they get. But I think we've made great strides over the last year. Destination New South Wales has invested heavily in a banking partnership, which has unleashed monthly data that we didn't have before. It gives a lot more insights into trends and consumer behaviour, and we'll continue to evolve those. So please continue to give us feedback as we go forward. Destination North Coast, we provide cheap access to Tourism Research Australia data through our subscription for our LGA partners, which then should flow on to everyone else as well, and we'll continue to do that. But what we also need is intel from the ground up. So this is why it's important for us to engage and just talk to you guys to find out what the hot button issues are so we can push them up to a state level. Just quickly wanted to reference Lord Howe Island because a lot of people don't realise that it's in our network. Lord Howe Island is such a unique little ecosystem, 500 kilometres off the coast from Port Macquarie there. It has all the key attributes that we've got on the North Coast, but a little bit heightened. So it's a great tool to leverage and promote our wider area. And also, it's a unique situation. You've got 400 capacity of 400 locals and a maximum capacity of 400 visitors. And everything they do needs thought. Every product they bring in, where they get rid of stuff, has thought. So there's great things to learn about sustainability and thoughtful processes there as well. Getting to the end, engagement is key for what we do. As I mentioned, 14 local government areas, the size of our industry. We've got a board of 5 people and we've got 5 staff that make up full-time equivalent of 3.5 people. We definitely cannot do it on our own. Engagement with people across the industry is vitally important. Our LGA partners are crucial to what we do. And understand you may not always agree with the strategy or the marketing that your local government partners do, but I do implore you to get behind them and to lead in. Because the more that you lead in and share and amplify the message, you all benefit from a rising tide here. So get behind your councils for sure. We'll continue. Advocacy is a really key thing for what we do as well. As I mentioned, the convention centre is something we've done for a long time. We were integral in the advocacy for the Great Koala National Park. We keep advocating for the Northern Rivers Rail Trail. Anyone got any money, please keep it coming. But we do it on a variety of issues as well. Like this year, there was proposed legislation about commercial e-bike operators that could really cruel that industry. And we were able to help them with help from Laurie and the team at Outdoors New South Wales cycling organisations as well. So if you have issues, please engage with us and we'll see what we can do. And what we can't underestimate is days like today. We are a highly fragmented industry that is mainly made up of small enterprises. Coming together to inspire and educate, and those words popped up earlier today, is vitally important. But the number one thing that kept coming up was networking and connection. And that's why it's important we have today. And then it's also important, like tonight, that we take a moment and celebrate the success and all the amazing achievement that the people in this room and wider have done. There's a reason being competitive. Again, there's a reason why we dominate the state tourism awards. We've got the only remaining regional awards, which definitely helps, but we've got a mature industry that delivers memorable experiences and first-class products. And we need to celebrate that, and we need to celebrate it together. So just in closing, I want to skip past that one. As Ash mentioned earlier, if you could pull your phones out, get the QR code up there and complete the survey. We talk about best practice, we talk about sustainability, so we've got to walk the walk as well. And that's why it's fantastic to work with such a credible and intelligent organisation like EarthCheck. What this survey will do, we'll measure the carbon footprint of this event, and as we go through the years, we're improving that position. We'll then offset that carbon footprint by donating money that delivered direct local environmental action as well. So closing that loop there. But it's vitally important that we have the right data to kick it off. I'll leave that up there, give people more time. But that's it for me. I really appreciate your audience at the moment, your attendance today, and your ongoing support. We've got just under half an hour for morning tea. We'll just start herding you when we're ready. But enjoy the landscape out there. What an amazing place to have a venue and to celebrate what the North Case is all about. So thank you very much.